Okay, and good evening, everybody. My name is Fred Bonanno, coming to you from the Tempted Angel Studios in Woodbridge, Illinois. Today we're talking to Johnny Kelly, drummer extraordinaire, who might possibly be the hardest working man in music today. It's more like a roadmap of rock, metal, goth, and doom. Let me know if I miss anything, Johnny. Currently touring, and you've been with Quiet Riot, Metal Icons Quiet Riot, since 2020. You're still active with Danzig, Kill Devil Hill, and Tomb. You're working on, looks like your latest project, a band called I Am, with former members of Crowbar, Down, Typo Negative.
Yep.
Typo Negative. Johnny was a member of that band, and we all know they were instrumental in putting goth metal on the map. Johnny was also with the Pale Horse Named Death and Black Label Society, to name a few. And in his spare time, he's a masked crime fighter at night, and he helps little old ladies cross the street. Attempted humor.
Yeah.
Johnny's drumming expertise has put Johnny in elite company, and it is my pleasure to sit down with such a talented and diverse musician like Johnny to talk about and his career. First, Johnny, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Getting ready to leave tomorrow. Going to playing this weekend with Quiet Riot. We have shows in Ashland, Kentucky and Sandusky, Ohio.
Oh, my daughter lives in Port Clinton, so she's only about 20 minutes away from you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I saw you're coming to one of the casinos in September, the end of October, I think. So we're gonna definitely check you out there in New Buffalo, Michigan. So we'll check out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for taking time out of your busy and hectic schedule to talk and answer a few questions. Let's start with Quiet Riot.
Okay.
How did that all come about? How did you get involved with Quiet Riot?
It's a pretty weird story. I played with Alex Grassi. Alex is the guitar player in Quiet Riot. We played together in the band Hookers and Blow with Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses and Mike Duda, the bass player from Wasp. And Quiet Riot was going to be playing in Dallas near where I live. And I knew that Frankie was sick, and I had just offered to Alex, I was, just like, hey, I'm going to be at the show anyway. Let Frankie know if he needs any help at anything. I'll be there, and I can help him. Just help him, whatever. Carry gear if he brought any gear, help him set up, and so that he had more strength, for the show. And Frankie thought that was a cool idea. He was like, yeah, all right, thanks. And, we'll definitely do that. And then I had mentioned to Alex, honestly, not really expecting anything of it, because of, it was Frankie, and you couldn't imagine Quiet Riot playing without Frankie Benally, behind the kit. But I was just like, look, if something happens, Frankie's not up to it. And if you need somebody to fill in, whatever, I'll help out, whatever you guys need me to do to help out, we're all friends. And honestly, I really didn't think anything of it. And then that show in Dallas 2 days before the show, Alex called me and he was like, can you do the show? And I was like, yeah, which after I said yes, after it came out of my mouth, I thought it was a terrible idea. Because I in the back of my mind, I was like, I have 2 days to learn a whole set, and I barely knew the other guys and stuff. Never played with them or anything, so it was kind of weird, just going into a Quiet Riot show and never playing with the band. I didn't really even have time to practice. I just wound up getting the whole catalog on iTunes. I was like, give me the set list, and I was just working on the songs as much as I could, with 2 days notice. And somehow we managed to get through the show without any major train wrecks.
Well, that's good.
There was a lot of video on YouTube and stuff, so I was referring to their live the live show and how like, how they would do things live, like, how they would start songs or how the songs ended and things like that. It was definitely rough around the edges. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and say, oh, it's great. But we got through it. And then one thing led to another, like, as Frankie's, as the cancer was progressing and stuff, and Frankie was, really, not up to playing at that point. I was covering a lot. And then when it got towards the end, Frankie had, made arrangements about the band continuing and stuff. And he wanted me to take over. And so I was like, of course, yeah. So now I'm in Quiet Riot.
Yeah, there you go. It's how things happen, man. That's how
It is weird how things happen. I mean, it's a terrible way to get a gig, to get into a band. But I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Like everybody in the band is really cool. Jizzy, and now we got Rudy Sarzo back in the band, which is really exciting. I know for me, it's like, bucket list check.
right.
And it's certain, it makes it so much better because he really is like one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. And so we, like we go out, we play mostly on the weekends. We go out Thursday, come home Sunday. So it's not, it took some getting used to compared to what I've, traditionally done when it came to, touring or, traveling and stuff.
Yeah, when you're on the road nonstop.
But it's nice being home. I'm home a few days a week, which is nice.
Yeah. That's good. That's always
yeah.
good.
And
Yeah.
And it's a different, it's like a different genre, I guess, like more of like, like a heritage act. And but the band has an iconic catalog, and it's a lot of fun to play. And especially like, now that I'm playing, Quiet Riot songs, and like I'm doing stuff that Frankie Banali did. And like their live show, you look at the videos, it's like he's putting on a clinic. So it's a lot of work for me. I'm playing a lot than what I've been used to playing.
Yeah.
So that's fun. So it's
great.
certainly challenging. It's challenging in that aspect. And yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of fun.
That'll be fun to get up there and just bang out the good old rock and roll and the classics, metal, health,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
other songs. And I know you mentioned Rudy. I had the privilege of meeting his brother Robert years ago when he was with Queensryche.
Okay.
Nothing but incredible stories about Rudy. What a great guy he is. And
Oh, I'm sure.
said earlier, he's just an amazing talent and an amazing guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Like, like from when I was a kid, growing up, and like Ozzy and Quiet Riot, and like the rest of his resume speaks for itself. And it's kind of weird, like like we'll be playing and stuff, and like there's usually like some like joking around, and like little bit of banter between each other while we're playing. And sometimes I'll just be like, I'm playing, and I'll just see this guy, just run across the stage. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Rudy Sarzo. Yeah, we're in a band together. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
So,
I read his book, Off the Rails, which was his time with Ozzy.
right.
And he said in the book how Sharon had pulled him aside one day after one of her concerts and said, see this circle here? That's what you stay in. She did not want him all over the stage or upstaging Ozzy at all. And he said, he goes, how I am on stage. I do this imaginary circle. It had to be tough to be on stage and be told, don't move around.
Yeah, he
When
has
the boss tells you that, you listen.
yes, of course. He's got some pretty incredible stories. They're pretty good.
Oh, I'll bet. And the fact that he survived that tour with Ozzy is amazing. Jim,
There's definitely
Johnny,
a couple of scars from that.
So you got a project out called I Am, and it's spelled EYE like an I. And first of all, where'd that name come from?
That came from, it was when Andrew Spalding, I guess the president of Corpse Paint Records, he was the one that proposed this whole project. This was like a pet project of his for a long time. I know Drew. Drew used to do merchandise for Danzig. And then he, after we did that tour, we became friends with Drew, and then Drew came and worked with Typo Negative. And then after Peter passed away, Drew was doing merchandise with some other bands and stuff. That was his profession. He was a merchandiser on a touring merchandiser. And then after that, he got married, had a couple of kids, and he's done a couple of different things career wise. And then he was like, I'm starting an indie label, and he goes, like one of the first things that I want to do is I want to get you and Kenny in a room together with Kirk and Todd Strange. And so I was like, all right, yeah. I was like, yeah, whatever, to help Drew with his, with his label or whatever. If this is what he wants to do, of course, I mean, it's great. It was great just to have an excuse just to go see everybody. it was fun that way. And so then it really started to happen. So then, when Drew was putting together, like, he's sending everybody emails. All right, this is the plan, this and that. And it was like, it was called I Am. So that's where I knew the name. I saw it in an email. I was like, okay, I guess that's what it's called. Yeah. And so yeah, it was a pretty interesting situation in terms of how things came together. Basically, Kenny and Kirk had been passing along a couple of ideas through email, a couple of guitar riffs and whatever. And we all met in Florida, like I don't know, maybe like 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, something like that. And Drew picked me up from the airport and drove me to the rehearsal studio. And then we just started working on this song. And then by the end of rehearsal, the song had we had a structure, we had an arrangement, we had definite ideas on what the foundation was going to be. And the next day we went into the studio and recorded it. Yeah. And then I was on a plane going somewhere. I think I had Quiet Riot shows right after that. And that's really how the whole thing came together. It was kind of like, here, put us all in this room. Don't come out until you have something. And that's really what happened. And then,
Sure.
The guys did their vocal tracks, did the guitar tracks, did everything. And then like a month ago, we went to New Orleans and we shot the video for it. So it was a performance video. We did it at a venue in New Orleans. And for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of the venue. But at the time, I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool place. It was, I don't know, maybe like a 1,000-seater, 1,500-seater venue. And, and they had, the whole crew there and stuff. And so we just did, we ran through the song a few times, performance video. And apparently there was a drone, which I had no idea about. I didn't even see it. They were like talking about it, like, during a break. I was like, drone? I was like, you flying a drone? And they're like, oh yeah, we've been using the drone. So then after that, the next shoots, I was like, trying to look for it while I was flying. I still never saw it. But so anyway, we did the video for it and everything. It all comes out on June 2nd, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw the little trailer you got. I don't know where I saw it on the internet, but sounds awesome. From what I heard, you only had a little tease of it, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And so
the
coming out June 2nd. You
this
Friday. Got a album or a tour?
No, not right now. We didn't. We're really not looking that far ahead. Eventually, the band would want to play out, do some shows and stuff like that. We'd have to see what's available to us. But really, right now, the next step that we're going to take is we're going to New Orleans at the end of the month. getting together again, and we're going to do some more writing and more recording and stuff, and we'll see what we can get. That was like one day. We'll see. Who knows what could happen if we have actually like a week. Anything can
Yeah.
happen. Who knows? We may wind up with a whole record.
Yeah, you never know. If you can, yeah, if you can stay out of trouble down there. It's
Yeah,
adults behaving badly down there in New Orleans. It's a great city.
there really is something special about it down there. There's definitely something, some kind of voodoo and
Yeah.
mechanism. Yeah, like you said, it usually ends with trouble.
Yes, yes, it does. Well, I'm looking forward to the new listening to the new single and hopefully a follow up with an album with it.
Yeah,
I know you're involved in so much stuff. Why don't you tell me what else you got going besides Quiet Right and I Am?
right now, I really haven't been doing too much with Danzig. Like the couple of shows that he's had coming up, I wasn't available. I couldn't. I already had commitments made with Quiet Riot, to finish up what they had planned, and I wasn't able to do the Danzig dates. I saw that Glenn just announced that he's got like another like 2 weeks of dates coming up later in the year, and from what I checked my calendar right away when I saw the dates, and I'm already confirmed for a bunch of Quiet Riot shows during that time, and I haven't been able to figure out how to be at two places at once yet. But I'm working on it, and I'm pretty determined.
Work on that. You
And,
from your schedule, you need to be in two places at one time.
yeah, it's like it's not something I can complain about. I'm pretty lucky in that way that that there's always something going on, and
Oh,
like,
absolutely, absolutely.
and like to be like the biggest ingrate, to complain about it, like and I'm very thankful. One day I'll make some money with this. If I keep at it, I'm gonna do well.
Money's overrated. Money's overrated. As long as you've got your
It
craft.
really is overrated, but we
It
kind of
is.
need it.
Speaking from a guy that doesn't have any, it's overrated. Well, I mean, you're super busy.
Yeah, I've during the pandemic, I started getting into recording, and I've been, I built a studio in my yard. I haven't even had a chance to get in there to track yet. I spent all this time like putting it together and getting all the insulation and the drywall and all that. And then by the time I was done with it, I really don't have a lot going on right now as far as like recording. A lot of everything was all done, like last year. But anyway, I've been doing a lot of tracking, and even was lucky enough, to get a little bit of session work too, which has been cool. So now I could, do stuff from home. I have it right outside. I just, walk outside with my coffee, and I'm ready
Actually,
to work.
outside. The studio's outside.
It's a shed. I got a shed and I converted it into a studio.
Moved the lawnmower out of the way.
Yeah,
the weed whacker. Put the drum set in there.
So like this kit, this was I use this kit for when I do lessons, and it has pads on it and stuff, so it's pretty quiet. My wife works from home now. She works remotely full time, so I can't make any noise in the house. So I had to come up with something. So I got a shed.
Yeah.
And so now I could do I've been doing tracks like the Silver Tomb record, the Patriots and Black record. I did both of those here in Texas on my own, tracking them myself. And it was a big learning curve, there's a lot to learn. And I'm still, just starting to scratch the surface of what microphones are capable of doing.
Yeah.
And so I've been busy with that as well. And but now it's like I've been really I was doing a lot of it during the pandemic when everything was shut down. I was home for a long time. Had to come up with something, do something. You can't just sit at home and watch the news and see how many people died that day.
Yeah. Yeah, because I do I write for a website called Metal Temple, and I did a lot of interviews And every band I interviewed said during the pandemic, we just sat and we just wrote and wrote and wrote.
Yeah.
And so when the pandemic finally ended, they were all able to get in the studio and they had so much material.
Yeah.
That was maybe the only good thing that came out of that nonsense. But
Yeah. Yeah.
material that came out.
There is a lot of new music now. Yeah, for sure. And it's like, yeah, just here in my little world, I did recorded a lot of songs. And so at least it was productive and creative that way. And, like it was, kept my mind moving. And,
Oh yeah, you got to keep them.
and now that
juices
everything's, like now I did this, I was renting a studio down in Dallas and I was doing it there. So I was going back and forth and I put so many miles on my car during the thing. I was like, I got to do something else. I'm saying, so I got a shed.
Yeah, that's what you got to do to keep busy. I know I've been trying to do more writing, and I finally picked up the guitar again. Been trying to play guitar.
Yeah, nice.
My first love was always drums, and I actually inherited a drum set from my father-in-law
Okay.
downstairs, and I tried, and I said I better stick with guitar first because drums. I mean, I give you drummers credit, man. That is concentrating on everything you're doing. That is.
It's different. Yeah, I always wanted to learn how to play piano, and I can't wrap my head around the whole concept of the fingers doing different things in different time, and it makes my head want to explode. I don't know how people could do it.
When did you first pick up the drumsticks? How old were you?
The first time I got behind a kid, I was 11 years old. There was a guy that lived up the block. And he was he corrupted all the kids. and he played drums. He got me into hot rods and drums. He was like, "You want to learn how to play drums?" I was like, "Oh yeah, Peter."
Two expensive hobbies.
Absolutely. Yeah, all of them are expensive. I mean, guitarists don't have it easy.
Yeah, they can be. You're right.
Yeah, I always said like Next Life harmonica and or attorney.
Yeah. Well, you do what my wife does. She sings. All she has to do is carry a microphone with her, and that's the extent of it. One microphone, and she goes on like 5 minutes before the band starts. Test. And she's
all right, yeah, we're ready. All right.
Yeah. I'm ready. Come on, you guys.
Last one there, first one to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so that I the guy that lived up the block, he taught me how to play a little bit, and then I really didn't have an outlet or an opportunity, or I couldn't have it. My mother wouldn't let me have a drum set. That was out of the question. And then a few years later, when I was like 15, a friend of mine got me into his band. And there was a rehearsal studio literally like a block away from where I lived. And so then I would go there. I was, there was a drum set there, and I would practice with the band. And I started meeting other people and playing in, different bands. And that studio is where I met Kenny from Type O. It was like one of the neighborhood places where all the, all the kids that played instruments, that's where they all went to rehearse. And so from when I was like 15, then I really got the bug, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
So one of my questions later on, we're probably not going to get to it, unfortunately, we run out of time, and we got to talk about Type O. But speaking of your learning drums, who were some of your influences growing up?
Oh, easily it was John Bonham and Bill Ward. Zeppelin and Sabbath were really like, those were like the blueprint for me. And then there was I was like this little, long-haired metalhead. I was like into anything I could get my hands on. That was like anything from like Europe or the UK or whatever. It was like, friends from school would go, "Oh, you got to check out this band," and so I was really, there was like so many different things, I was a big fan of, I always loved the AC/DC, like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and then like Saxon, the first, like the new wave of British heavy metal, then there was thrash and like, speed metal, like I was a huge Metallica fan. But I guess a lot of it now is like, like now like classic metal, like, and
Speaking of Metallica, if I can interrupt you for a second, speaking of Metallica, you think Lars gets a lot of bad, they talk a lot of bad stuff about him. You think that's justified?
I don't think it's justified. No,
Me neither. I always thought he was a great drummer.
He's become like like a punchline.
Yeah,
There's
maybe that's the best
a
way to
lot
put
of
it.
jokes with like Nickelback, and but Lars, like I always try to keep it into perspective about like what this kid from Denmark was doing back then. And the way that he was playing was a game changer, and I don't see how anybody can like argue that fact. Like when Metallica first came out, like like they were doing like like what they took like the Motorhead, like a Phil Taylor approach, and then like like brought it up to 11, and like and then like when Ride the Lightning came out, and when you heard Fight Fire with Fire for the first time, your head fucking exploded.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody doing that then, at least on my radar. Like I had no idea. And there were other guys that were, stepping up, but they were like the first to take it to that extreme. And, just that alone, he should be due all the credit. He should get a bunch of credit just for that. But I always thought that his playing was kind of like, like it was, I guess because he's self-taught, like it was very outside the box, which I thought was cool. Like he would put like hits, like do like a couple of like odd things, here and there, and he'd be like, oh, whoa, what was that, and like like the Master of Puppets from start to finish. The record is amazing, and he's a big part of that. And they, like he gets a lot of slack. He takes a lot of hits, but he doesn't deserve them at all.
Yeah, it's kind of what I've heard from other people that know drummers too, and they say I don't know why he takes so much.
No, I was like, like if maybe somebody saw him and he had a bad night. Everybody has bad nights. Everyone.
Yeah, and you mentioned Nickelback too. It's funny because Nickelback has sold something like 40 million albums or something like that.
Right, so that's it.
Nobody ever admits they bought one.
You're right.
Exactly. Everybody goes, I hate Nickelback, but they sold 40 million. And
yeah,
I don't. I mean, some of their lyrics are cheesy, but you know what? They're just good old rock and roll too.
Yeah, I never really had a purpose. I never had a problem with it. Like but hell, they use a lot of pyro. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Telling me I got like 9 minutes left, so I do not want to run out of time. I got so many questions, but let's talk Typo Negative.
Okay.
Obviously, you joined them in '93, I believe.
Yes.
Full-time drummer in 1993.
Yep.
And I'll admit I didn't know much about them till
a lot of people did.
I was interviewing you and our friend Tommy.
Right. Oh yeah.
Tommy's a good. Hey Tommy, how you doing, buddy? Got me into started listening to it, and I think it grew on me to the point where I really like listening to it now. And I know
that's great. It really, I think like like the thing to summarize it is here it is like Peter died in 2010. It's 2023 now, and people are still talking about the band. Like it's it seems like it's more popular now than it was when we were active.
Yeah, Peter Steele, the lead singer, and probably the main lyricist.
Yeah.
Would you throw him in a genius category?
He was mad scientist, crazy genius. He wasn't.
I did look at some of the lyrics, and they are intense, and
they're very clever, and a lot. The one thing that that usually gets overlooked is the the tongue-in-cheek sarcasm that's in the lyrics. A lot of it, like so many things that were in those songs. A line would get, whatever, there's a line in a song and we would be dying. We would like, this is the funniest thing ever. A lot of people just wouldn't get it, go right over their heads. And but he was very clever that way. The pictures he painted, with his pen was a lot of reference to stuff back home in Brooklyn. So like if you knew him, like if somebody, like, friends of ours were listening to, to the record, like, or hear, reading the lyrics, a lot of them would get it. They'd understand it. Oh shit, he's talking about, blah, 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 blah. And then, but
Yeah.
the rest of the world kind of like flies right over their head.
Yeah. Cause I'm a songwriter wannabe. I like dicking around with songs and stuff. And so I will break down a song lyrics, and sometimes some songs amaze me. And I gotta admit, some of his lyrics caught me off guard and said, shit, that's clever as hell.
Like,
And
like
I know sometimes the lyrics can get buried because the music takes over.
he's one of the few people that can be talking about a relationship, and like the main content of the song is a relationship, and he manages to put the like pie in it, like the sequence, the numerical sequence for pie. That's not your average bear.
No. And if you never heard him, I would check him out, people, because you might not like him right away, but give it a listen or two, and you'll find yourself going, "This man's got some kick-ass stuff on it."
Yeah, he really was a talented.
Yeah, and it's a shame he passed, and but unfortunately, yeah, that is life.
Yeah.
And I think something we'll stick with typo negative, and then I got to think about wrapping it up. Unfortunately, I did notice that some of your songs you guys covered were from some unusual bands that you wouldn't think
Yeah.
would cover. Seals and Crofts, Neil Young, the Beatles. And I think I asked you this earlier. What was it, a challenge putting a metal spin on those Seals and Crofts?
It was well, that was done. That was on Bloody Kisses, and I joined the band right after that came out. But the other covers that we did on records following that, really the approach was not so much like, we take a song or whatever, and it would be like, oh, like Peter would be like, oh, I want to cover this song. I love this song when I was a kid. I want to cover it. And the approach would be, how would this song have turned out had we written it? And that's, so it was like, it needed to sound like, it was important for us that the song would sound like a typo negative song, more so than typo negative just covering a song, or like, a cover band in a club covers a song. We did do some other covers that weren't recorded, and then they would get scrapped because we would get caught in that situation where it sounds too much like the original. We're not doing anything new with it. We're not doing it, we didn't put like our twist on it. And so then it would just get scrapped. It'd be like, it sounds like the original. Let's move on. The other songs that we did, yes, they're the same songs, like in terms of like, chord progressions and lyrics. But there's it pretty much like, even the chord progressions, that's a gray area in a lot of the songs that we did. But it was like we would take a song and really make it our own. We make it a typo song more than, and that's we always found that interesting and worth recording, like to do, like the Beatles song that we did on World Coming Down. We did Day Tripper, and like it's definitely different. You can hear, like, you can make it out that it is the Beatles song, but it definitely sounds like a typo negative song.
Yeah, and that's, whenever I hear people cover songs, why do you not put your own spin on it. Don't record it like they did. What's the
We were
point?
doing mashups before they were called mashups.
Yeah, yeah. One of the best covers I ever heard was Bad Company by Five Finger Death Punch. I mean, that's
Right.
a great song by Bad Company, but Five Finger Death Punch put their own spin on it. And that's what you want to do when you do a cover. Give me something different.
It's like, like something, a little something different on it than,
Yeah.
I mean, but there's other bands like, like Patriarchs in Black that, we've recorded a lot of covers, to I don't know what's going to get used or whatnot, but we've done a lot of covers. And then sometimes I'll try to put a little bit of a different spin on it, try to do something a little bit different with it. And then sometimes I just, stick to the, original, vibe, like, and
Yeah, no, I understand it. Johnny, I hate to do this, man. I got pages of questions, but they're telling me that like a minute left. So unfortunately,
but we'll do another one next week.
I would love to do another one, man. You are awesome. Tommy told me what a great guy you are, and he wasn't, dude. But I tell you what, I'm an autograph collector. I need a Johnny Kelly autograph drumstick, so I'm going to hand you one here.
Oh, let me get that.
That for me.
Oh,
and
thanks.
Get back to me, and then we'll add that to my collection.
And that.
And we'll do this again. And if anybody wants to check out more Johnny Kelly, check out metaltemple.com. That's www.metal-temple.com. I did an interview with Johnny. It'll be published next week. And there's a few more questions on there.
All right, you ready?
Yep,
I'm going to hand it back to you.
got it.
Awesome.
Johnny Kelly, look at that.
Look at that.
Got my autographed Johnny Kelly drumstick. All right, dude, we got to go so we don't get cut off. It was an absolute pleasure. You are an amazing talent. And
Likewise, man. Thank you.
Thanks
for your time.
I'm going to see you in the Hard Rock in October, but I hope maybe we'll talk before that, and maybe we can.
Yeah, for sure.
This was awesome.
All right, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me
Take
on.
care. The absolute best.
All right. Talk to you soon.